Hello and welcome back to another episode of Slice and Dice Ecom. I'm Josh, the founder at the agency, and we are joined by...
I'm Holly. I'm a senior content strategist at ClickSlice.
Awesome. It's so funny. Before we started hitting record on this podcast, I put my hat on and Holly said, "Is it dirty at the front?"
And like an old woman.
Like, for those who are watching this, like, maybe you can zoom in on this camera, Mara. Like, yeah, this is fashion, by the way.
You know when your mum's like, "Oh, have you ripped your jeans?"
No, I'm very fashionable. No, I'm actually not. Yeah, trying to be cool and down with the kids. Right?
No, I'm not cool down with the kids.
No, cool. Awesome. So in this episode, what I want to do is discuss another hot topic, which is, we touched on it briefly in the past, right, about content, different stages of the funnel, but this is more about measuring the ROI of your content funnel. Sorry, you've got top of the funnel, middle, and bottom, right? And we kind of spoke about how to categorize keywords in different stages and different parts of that funnel, but how can you measure the ROI? Because let's be honest, all the brands watching this, they only care about ROI. They want to make more money, right? So
Sure.
Let's start with the first part, right? So if we start with, I don't know, maybe the top of the funnel, right? Like, what key metrics should brands be looking at and monitoring on a monthly basis to determine what the ROI is of the content at that stage of the funnel?
Yeah. Before I get into this though, this is how down with the kids I am, right? Like how geeky I am. Like, yes, we're ready for some metrics. But I think before we get into that, ROI is something that will come at the end, or it might take a little bit for you to see that, especially with SEO. And I think one of the mistakes with SEO, or a reason, and we've spoken about this many times, Josh, but a reason that people might not choose SEO would be because it takes too long for them to get to the ROI. And I understand that, but ROI is like a metric that we're going to talk about a little later. In the meantime, before we get to that ROI, there are some sort of signals that you can see in your content and in the way that your site is performing for you to start to see that SEO is doing its job, is working. And so that's what we're kind of going to talk about here. We're going to talk a little bit about how those metrics map onto those different stages of the funnel, but also we're going to talk about what kind of things we should see. And if we see these patterns, how then we should action them.
Okay. So I'm correct in assuming, by the way, it was done deliberately the way I staged that. It's not about content making direct money. It's other metrics that the content actually contributes towards that do signify a positive ROI, which will then lead to sales.
Yeah, sure. Maybe that's probably a little better of a title.
No,
we can update it.
I asked you it strategically because I know brands would just care about money. But I'm so glad you explained it, because I was hoping you would go into the detail, and you did. But yeah, that is literally how important content is. It's not just publish a blog, I'll make more money. It doesn't work that instant. I wish it did, but unfortunately it doesn't.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would be a millionaire. The amount of blogs I posted.
Yeah, same. So cool. Let's get into it then. So what metrics should brands be looking at? Because it's not going to be organic revenue straight away.
No, yeah, of course. Right. So when we're looking at the top of the funnel, then the main metrics that we're looking at should be about your reach and your traffic, the amount of kind of like people that are coming onto your platform and seeing things. So of course, the number one thing then we're looking at is organic traffic, the number of people that are finding your website through search and through Google search. But also we're going to be looking for things like impressions, click-through rates, and how many of those visitors are new visitors and how many of them are like returning visitors. All of those kind of metrics are really important to signal who is coming to our page and like what are they doing when they're there? Like, where are they hanging around? So we can kind of look at those things. One of the other things there that I forgot to talk about was our bounce rate.
BR. We love BR, don't we?
BR.
That's what you call it, BR.
I've never heard anyone call it BR.
I mean, it's just our slang and our
I feel like that's
SEO
not
chat.
something we should. Stop making BR happen.
Do you know what? There's already enough acronyms in SEO.
Yeah.
For me to be adding more, BR. Yeah, sorry.
BR.
Bounce rate's big.
Yeah, very important, your BR.
Yeah, no, there's another term, pogo sticking. Have you heard that before?
What, sorry?
Pogo sticking.
No, literally.
No, so like the concept behind pogo sticking is, imagine someone goes onto Google and they search for, I don't know, men's black t-shirts, right? I think an example on another podcast. Sorry, I ran out of ideas, guys. And then you open the first website, it's not great, you hit the back button. So you go back to Google search results. Oh, you see white t-shirts. Hit the back button. You're basically pogo sticking between all the results. And what that does, it sends a negative signal to Google that these first 3, 4 websites haven't satisfied the user and actually pogo sticking between the different websites to find what they want. So it's kind of like bounce rate, but it's when the user has multiple bounce rates in one Google search. So like bang, 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 bang. And it's basically bounce rate It's just a fancy word. Again, another word we'd like to make up in our industry for no reason, just to confuse people.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe we should just call it PSing.
Yes.
Like pogo sticking. We should make it into like an
so.
acronym just to confuse people even more.
I say no to that one. You said no to my BR. So I think we'll stick to what people know. No, awesome. Okay, cool. I think that makes sense. Any other metrics you want to touch on before we go to another stage of the funnel? Or
No, I think in general, like the top of the funnel there would be including all of those kind of like traffic, who are these people, where they're coming from, and how long are they spending there. So all of those kinds of things like click-through rate, impressions.
Okay, perfect. So like we discussed already in previous episodes, top of the funnel is more informational. What is, how, can, right? So what about middle of the funnel, where users are a bit further down the purchase funnel and they're probably closer towards making a decision? Like, what metrics should brands be looking at? Again, it's probably not organic revenue right now as well.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Because at this time, when you're in the middle of the funnel, people aren't buying here, right? They're making, they're weighing up their choices, they're weighing up their decisions. And so this is where we need to be tracking things like engagement and interest. So what does that look like? What kind of metrics can we track there? We're thinking about time on page, how long people spend sort of like reading and engaging with your content. One of my favorite things to track is actually like how far people scroll and where they drop off or where they scroll to, what they're clicking on. I love that kind of stuff. Like what piques their interest. Yeah. But also here we might include things like small micro conversions. So that might be like how many people click on download a PDF, how many click on play of your YouTube video, this kind of thing, where they are in a way converting because they're like doing an action, but that they're not at that macro conversion, which is we making a purchase or like booking a demo or whatever. But those kinds of things, like how engaged are people in their content at this moment? These are the kinds of things that we can identify there.
Scroll depth is such a good one. Like we use like Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, which is basically just tracks the users, right? And it shows you in a heat map like where users are landing on the page, and it's really cool because you can test a lot of hero sections. You can test where to place a CTA, the color of the CTA, how big the text is, and we actually did it on our own website, which is obviously not an Ecom store, it's a an SEO agency store essentially. But we found out that when everyone goes into our website, they hover over the first part in our menu, which normally was about us, which is kind of great when I learned about the brand, but we changed it to why us and rearranged it. And people were seeing why we are now better than another agency, we have better USPs. And at the bottom of that why page, we added a CTA. You actually wrote it, a CTA section.
Yeah, I didn't know this, and I was the one that wrote
I know. So like what we tell clients to do, I think what I'm really proud about at the agency is we actually do this stuff ourselves, and we're testing it. We're not just saying, yeah, do this, do that. Like these are really, really cool. And I think our conversion rate went up for that one page by 1.4%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're getting thousands of users every month, 1.4% is a lot of people converting. So yeah, no, really, really good.
And that shows just like a small change there can have really significant impact. And I didn't know that about our website. It's really interesting that so we can really take those things and see. And actually that's a great example of our middle of the funnel metrics there. So you can see that they're interested, you can see that they're engaging and like hanging around. And now it's like, well, how can I then bring them down a notch of the funnel? Just by making that one small change, by putting what they're looking for in front of their eyes, more than like helping them or more than allowing them to sort of like rummage through the site and find what they're looking for.
Of course, you need the data to know that, right? So the power's in the data.
100%.
No, awesome. Well said. Lots of value as always. So what about the last part of the funnel? Both of you, right? Where clients at the bottom of the funnel kind of made up the buying decisions. They know what they want. What metrics should brands be looking out for?
Sure. So you might be excited to know that this is where ROI comes in, right?
Yeah, all the listeners out there celebrating.
Finally. So this is where we start to think about actually macro conversions, so that purchase conversion, not just a micro conversion, which will be a small signal of interest, like those macro conversions, those clicking on those buy now buttons and getting their credit cards out. But also we have things like recurring lifetime customer value metrics, and how many of these people are coming back into our funnel after, like how many of them are coming back again and again, making repeat purchases. So this is all those exciting things. And finally we get to the money metric. But this is where we can really identify the opportunities that can be had in our metrics, right? So if we know that we're getting a lot of ROI from new customers and hardly any return, like the really low lifetime customer value, we know, okay, we will need to work on our Bofu content, and we need to work on that, like re-nurturing that respark content to get that number up.
Awesome. Good. So what about moving users from different stages of the funnel? I think that's the big topic. Like, how can you determine whether your content is effectively moving users from maybe top of the funnel to middle and then to bottom?
Yeah. And I think that this is something that is really important, because we, in SEO, people think that's organic traffic. Like, but in actual fact, if we're not putting in strategies to move people down the funnel, then we are not gonna make any money, right? We're just stuck at that beginning part. We're not looking at the metrics that actually result in the ROI. So what we've got to do is move people. If we see that we're getting a lot of organic traffic, for instance, but we've got really poor lifetime customer value, okay, we know our tofu is probably pretty strong, but people are dropping off. Like, people are coming up.
In the middle.
We've got to tighten that funnel up and use that metrics to identify where we're coming from. So how can we do that? One way that I like to do that is by mapping the journey that your customers are on. So we can use things like Hotjar or Clarity to sort of map where people come in the content, but also mapping on maybe a broader scale where in the funnel people sort of like fall out, and then tightening that up by plugging that gap with some great content or making some changes to the site, just like that example that we were looking at, right? On our own site, where we swapped those things around a little, and we were able to plug that gap and just now see the results of that, which is a 1 point whatever % it was. That's a plug in the funnel. And so that's the kind of thing that we're looking at here. So mapping that user, seeing where the customers are engaging, seeing how we can make subtle changes to keep them on that page for longer and bring them to the next stage.
Okay, so imagine a brand does that, right? They look at the content funnel, they see getting lots of top of the funnel, a little bit of middle of the funnel, right? And barely anything bottom of the funnel. Like, they've got all this information, all this data in front of them. How do they actually leverage that to then go into that content, tweak it, to actually move the users further down the funnel to ultimately, equate to a sell at the end?
Okay, so if people are dropping off at the, like there in that example, it sounds like people are dropping off at the middle of the funnel. So that might mean that they've got a lot of these awareness blogs. Maybe they've got, maybe they've been doing a blog a week for 5 years, and that's many people have.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
But that type of content now is like maybe out of date, or it's not really getting any clicks, or maybe it is getting clicks, but maybe it is getting clicks, but for like random obscure search terms that aren't necessarily related at all to anything that we sell. So we can see then, okay, we've got a good awareness strategy. We've got that awareness out. But now what we'd need to do is come and look at where our middle of the funnel content. So that might be things like helping people make decisions. It might be buyer's guides, it might be comparisons, it might be reviews, or long form sort of like different kinds of content that we can nurture people with in that, while they're in that engagement and interest phase. And then for me, I would focus all my time on just building that type of stuff out and building that content out. And then also, seeing how that then performs with the Bofu. Because if you're a brand that's got a lot of tofu awareness and a lot of traffic, but it's not converting, the next stage is that Mofu. And you probably don't have enough information right now to sort of like create a Bofu strategy that would plug those holes. So you've got to then like nurture it down the funnel in this way. But yeah, if people are bouncing from your middle of funnel content, you've got to revisit that messaging to ensure that you're answering every question that they have and tightening that up. I keep saying that, tightening it up, but I feel like the metaphor, I'm really extending it. But looking at the kind of engagement that you're getting and making strategic decisions based on that. Good.
Really good advice. I think on that one, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Yeah, let me know what you thought of that down in the comments.
Yeah, I think that was good. Lots of value as always. Holly never really disappoints, does she? So good. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your nan, your family, every single person. And again,
I'm not sure your nan would really enjoy it.
She may care about top of the funnel tofu.
She won't, because she won't enjoy your cap, Josh.
She's going to say that guy who's just got his hat bitten by a dog or something. Yeah, no, definitely. But anyway, look, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.